Hey guys, how's it going? It's Clarissa with our Dumb Movie Show. So, I did something a little bit different this week and I actually conducted a Twitter poll to find out what you guys wanted me to talk about today. And it was between Pacific Rim Uprising and Unsane, and it looks like Unsane won, which is probably for the best because I am a huge fan of the original Pacific Rim, and my review of the sequel would pretty much have been that it was very disrespectful. So instead of me just becoming very nitpicky, let's talk about Steven Soderbergh's Unsane. Which, yeah, this was the guy who said he retired about 5 years ago, but I'm glad that he's back because I think Steven Soderbergh is very adept at creating an entertaining piece of film, and I would very much say that I was entertained by Unsane. Now, the part where I start to get mixed feelings on this is when we talk about missed opportunities, because Unsane starts off barreling down this particular direction that I think is genuinely fascinating, that I think could be really insightful, but then at one point it just veers off and it heads down instead this completely conventional path that turns the film from, like a bit of a head scratcher into a completely generic thriller. The story focuses on a woman named Sawyer Valentini, played by Claire Foy, who is absolutely tormented by a stalker for 2 years. He breaks into her house. Very creepy stuff. So she decides to move from Boston to Pennsylvania to have a completely fresh start. Not only to physically move away from him, but also from the memory of him. But at the same time, she still doesn't feel comfortable. She feels very paranoid. She doesn't feel particularly safe. So she decides to go talk to a therapist, just to talk to someone about it, have a conversation about it. But what happens instead is that she ends up unwillingly committed to a mental institution. And she feels fine. She feels largely mentally healthy, but these doctors around her are so desperate to convince her that she is both a danger to herself and to others, which is a pretty classic form of gaslighting. And she is gaslit both by her stalker, who's trying to convince her that she's crazy for not accepting him into her life, and also by her doctors, who are trying to make her feel like she's crazy for expressing some kind of fear about her situation. For anyone who doesn't know, gaslighting is a very deliberate form of manipulation in which someone will try to convince you that your view of things, your perception of the world is completely wrong, that you are completely crazy for feeling a certain way, for having experienced things a certain way, and essentially it's a way in which someone can attempt to get power or control over you. It comes from a 1938 play and also two film adaptations, one which famously starred Ingrid Bergman. In that story, this husband has committed a brutal murder that he's trying to hide from his wife, especially because every night he goes up to the apartment above theirs, which belonged to the murdered woman, and tries to search for her missing jewels. And the wife begins to suspect something when every night the gas lights in her home start to dim. Gaslighting, da-da-da. And so he tries to convince her that she's going crazy and she's imagining it. And gaslighting turns up in a whole bunch of different situations, in child abuse and abusive relationships, in workplaces, in politics, but it does have a certain association with the abuse of women, specifically just because women's opinions and their perception of the world have been sort of generally diminished by society. And so in that way, I think Unsane's depiction of gaslighting is actually pretty clever, because Unsane is pretty much a horror film, and the experience of being gaslit feels like you're in a real life horror film. You know, you don't know who to trust. It feels like everything's gone topsy-turvy. You're being assaulted by these messages telling you that everything you thought was true actually isn't, and you're wrong about everything. And it is a really disturbing experience. It feels incredibly frightening. Specifically, I think how the doctors are represented and how the stalkers are represented, you see almost these two different kinds of gaslighting, because in the doctors you get this very calm, authoritative approach of just very simply telling you that you are a danger to yourself and others, and it's like being spoken to like you're a child, like you can't take care of yourself, like they know what's best for you, and that's incredibly disconcerting on its own level. And then you have the stalker on top of that, who his approach is incredibly emotionally manipulative. He's this very pathetic figure, and he's just trying to beg her, trying to convince her that they're destined to be together. But his obsession is based off something completely superficial, this image of her as being so pure and so perfect. And there's a great moment of confrontation between them where she says something maybe a little unpleasant and he reacts so badly to it. He goes, "Oh, that's not you, why are you doing this?" And she snaps back straight away, "It is me, like, you don't love who the actual person I am is." Which I should point out in this moment that I think Claire Foy is incredibly good in this. I guess maybe her accent is a little bit British lady pretending to be American, but what I really liked about her performance is that she's not overly concerned with making the character empathetic. She doesn't want to be some wilting victim, and instead she's a strong, occasionally abrasive woman. And you know, strong women are just as likely to be victims of gaslighting and to be affected by it. And a big talking point that you guys might already know is that Steven Soderbergh shot this on an iPhone 7, and I do think it was a smart choice because I think the fact it's a little less glossy, it's a little more erratic, it better captures her internal experience. Everything's a little more disconcerting. It hovers around her face a lot. And so that aspect is effective, you know, the horror film born out of something real. And it did really feel like this film was heading towards a conclusion that would bring something illuminatory to the table, an ending to ponder over maybe. But instead, it just really felt like the final third, I guess, of Unsane was a complete cop-out. It just completely veered away from all its themes of, you know, gaslighting and everything it's set up, and it just goes into this very straightforward genre thriller ending. And it's not that it's bad, it was just disappointing. So a big chunk of this movie is very finessed and layered and interesting, and then there's this other chunk that's just very standard, just bleh. And also, Juno Temple plays one of the other patients at the institution, and that character is just a little bit of that, "Oh, I'm a crazy biatch, I'll get a knife out and wave it around in the air." It's just a little tropey, I guess. So yeah, Unsane was definitely entertaining, but I was a little mixed on what exactly it was doing. But if you've had a chance to see Unsane, I would love to know what you guys thought. You can let me know down in the comments below, or you can hit me up on Twitter, details down in that description box. And also don't forget to like and subscribe so you can hang out and talk about movies. I'll see you guys soon. Bye!